Hey y'all, this is Allie Spears, your host of the AgChicks podcast, where I cultivate connections with the women who are helping feed the world. Okay, so today's a unique episode, I guess you could say. This is the most people I think I've ever had on. Actually, I did an episode with my cousins and my brother at one point. Let me think about that. That was 1, 2, 3. That was 6. So this is 7. So we're ahead of that count. But today I have very special guests on because they are Poultry Science's best and brightest. They are my students, and so we have traveled to Dallas, Texas, a destination city all on its own. We had quite the day getting here, and we are currently sitting in the hotel doing this podcast recording because they so graciously decided and accepted my invitation to be on the podcast. So I'm going to let them quickly introduce themselves, and then we'll just kind of jump in and have a good old life chat, if that works for everybody. Let's go with Casey. Why don't you take us away with your information?
So my name's Casey. I am currently a senior at Texas A&M, class of 24. I am from Cut and Shoot, Texas, so if anybody listening knows where that's at, props to you.
I feel like that's the most country location you could probably get.
For sure. I think if anybody knows where it is, it's because they happen to pass it driving through Texas on their way to Louisiana. Other than that, it's one flashing yellow town.
Does it really have one stoplight?
Yep.
Dang. Not even a stoplight,
a flashing
light.
Yep. That's it.
Can't come.
We're special in our little ways.
Dang it. Amaya.
I'm Amaya. I'm from Weatherford, Texas. That is right outside of Fort Worth. And I'm a junior at Texas A&M.
And hi, my name is Kirby, and I'm from Wallace, Texas, and I actually have a one-up on Casey because my town doesn't even have any stoplights, let alone a yellow flashing light, so super small town vibes in that area, so.
Dang.
Nice. My name's Isabella. I'm a junior at Texas A&M, and I'm from Clear Lake, Texas, where there's a lot of stoplights. I live next to NASA, so there's a lot of technology.
Less stuff going on.
Yeah.
I am Kaylee. I am from Katy, Texas, and I am a sophomore poultry science major, and we also have a lot of stoplights.
My name is Reagan, and I am also from Katy, Texas, and a sophomore poultry science major.
So we've got a wide variety of backgrounds, I feel like. And we're here in Dallas. Did I already say that we're here for the FFA convention? Oh, see? That's how the day's been. It's been one of those days. But yeah, so we're here for the state convention for the Texas FFA state conference, and we will be working the Poultry Science booth. So I don't know if there's any FFA members that listen to AgChicks podcast, but if you do and you're here, come say hello. But I kind of want to talk to you guys about a little bit about your FFA experience, but then also why you guys decided to go Poultry Science and kind of your plans for the future. So what did you guys were all in FFA, correct? Yes, okay. What were the things that you were involved in FFA? And you guys can just jump in. It doesn't have to be in any specific order.
I think I probably have the most different experience from the rest of these guys because I did plant judging entire time in FFA. So I did range and plant ID and those and forage. So very different, no live animal side of it. I did show, but for contest wise, everything like that was just very different. A lot of memorization. My parents still ask me to go out in the pasture and figure out what something is if they don't know what it is. But so kind of a different side of it. I showed goats, which was super fun. I love goats. They're like little dogs.
Yeah.
They're my favorite thing.
They have so much personality.
So much personality. I think they have the best personality. No offense to anybody that showed anything else.
I don't know about that, but they have a good personality.
That is a stretch.
But because of that, I never touched a chicken before college, which I think is very different than most poultry science majors.
Amen. Yeah. Not a bird fan, but we'll get into that later. Yes, you were a plant girly.
I was a plant girly.
And I know you did floral stuff, right, Kirby?
Yeah, I did a bunch of floral stuff. Not the contest side. I did more of live animals for CD events. I did dairy judging, it was more involved in LDEs, like chapter conducting and public speaking, ag advocacy. I was more involved through leadership development events. But as far as plants go, I did a bunch of arrangements. Our high school FFA was actually like their own floral company on the side, so we did a bunch of arrangements for events, and it was a super cool experience.
Yeah, and Kirby's ag teacher was Bailey, or was, you graduated, was Bailey Adams, who was on the podcast, over a year ago. She was in season 2 or 3, I can't remember. A long time ago.
She's the best.
Yeah, so check that episode out if you want to know a little bit more about that, and like the ag teacher side of this. But yeah, and you said you did plant stuff too?
I did a lot of, my school had their own like show, and we're like going into like I think close to 60 years worth of the show.
Yeah.
And I mean the animal side of things too, but I did the non-animal stuff. So I did like horticulture, floral design, photography stuff, so like kind of like the undermined things too, because I mean it was a quick entry, and if you did silent auction you got a lot of money because CCISD has a lot of good donors and stuff. So I did like horticulture, like succulent gardens, and like I did silk arrangements, like your non-traditional like silk arrangements. Like I did one that had like the macrame stuff with the really pretty garden roses at top. But like I did floral design class and I really loved it. So when I came to college, I was looking for a summer job, and I worked at a floral shop for like 6 months.
That's cool.
So I took that and ran with it.
I cannot relate. I did not do the floral stuff. We didn't really have a floral program though, or anything cool like that.
I couldn't do it because I'm allergic to flowers and stuff like that.
That might be a minor issue.
Yeah.
What did you do in FFA though?
I did it all. I showed. I was an officer. We had a dog grooming business that I was in charge of. Yeah, it was fun. I loved the dog grooming part. That was got to meet all the teachers' pets and hang out with them. I did CDs, LDs. I was
involved.
Beefmaster stuff.
Yeah.
Beef Masters.
Yep.
You guys
I'll
are
be doing our nationals. Yep.
Yeah. Or today, this week.
Next week. Excited about that.
And it's here in Texas?
Yes, it's in Belton.
Okay. Cool. Ladies.
My FFA journey started a little differently. My brother did it, but he was not good at all, and my one goal was to be better than him. But he didn't really do much, so it kind of wasn't that hard. But I started, I did theater in junior high, and I was pretty involved in that, so I knew going in that speaking was what I wanted to do. So I went in, and I did not want to do Green Hand Creed, however, that was what I was placed on, but I loved every second of it. As far as CDEs go, I did not start off on poultry. I actually started off on entomology.
Yes, me too. One competition
and
I was done.
Yeah, I will admit that was not where I was supposed to be. But I quickly joined poultry my sophomore year, and I loved every second of it, and I am very grateful for where it got me to this podcast pretty much. So yeah,
Agchicks full circle. When I was in FFA, I was kind of just had a hand in almost everything we did. Big LDE girly. I was on quiz, did well with those. Chapter conducting, and then Poultry CDE was not my first choice, honestly. I wanted to do horse judging, but I was persuaded to go into the poultry stuff. I did a little bit of science fair. I wish I did more because I thought it was really interesting once we got into it and figured out the process of it all. I also raised pigs. I was not a big fan of it, I guess. I was really more into the LDE, CDE teams of FFA rather than the livestock part of it, but I also don't come from an agriculture family.
Yeah.
So my parents still don't really know what I do.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was gonna ask too. Like, out of you guys, like, do you have agricultural backgrounds, or was like FFA your first kind of introduction? Kirby's shaking her head.
First introduction.
First introduction.
Roped everybody into it. Now we're growing our own animals.
I mean, like, My dad grew up in California, so he wasn't really as involved, and my mom was like a big like dancer in high school. So neither of them were in FFA, but my grandparents raised cattle. We've had a big cattle background. Aunts, uncles. My grandpa, he sells seeds. He still does that now. Big crop people. So I kind of like restarted it in this generation of my family, I guess you could say, and brought it back. And now all my siblings are doing it. All my cousins are doing it. So it's been pretty cool to like watch it move into this generation of my family.
Yeah. I think that's a good, like, I think people downplay 4-H and FFA sometimes, or they don't think about the things outside of, like, showing livestock. Like, there's so much more you can do with it. And it's such a good introduction for youth to get into agriculture. Because, I mean, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you said you don't have any agriculture. What?
I do.
Oh, I thought you didn't.
I didn't get to say
Oh, go. Sorry. I started talking.
It's like a slope. Like, my dad comes from Kilgore, so East Texas, where he grew up on really like big ranches and stuff like that. Whereas my mom, and like my dad was a bull rider, and then my mom, she comes from the ghetto part of Houston, like like the ghetto, like bars on the walls and stuff, like, everywhere. But she came to Texas A&M, and she got her own horse, and she was a barrel racer and everything like that. So when I was born in College Station, and then we lived there for a while, and then we moved to Brenham, where we had our own acres, and then my grandpa had cattle, and they still do. But then I moved to Houston, to a really, like, suburban part, where, like, everything that is around there is NASA.
Right.
And while NASA has, like, a small, like, the deer and the longhorn stuff like that, that's not something that's really popular down there.
Right.
Unless you're starting going towards Galveston, you got Santa Fe, Texas City. They have, like, ranchettes, you would say.
Yeah.
And so, FFA is, like, really unheard of down there. So, when I went to high school, we didn't have junior FFA, we didn't have none of that. Like, my chapter was maybe 30-something kids in it.
Oh, wow.
Maybe.
Dang.
Yeah, maybe. Like, sometimes it'd be, like, and that's not even, like, active members. Like, our active members was way small. Like, you maybe had, like, I couldn't even tell. The officers and maybe just a few kids that showed animals. And then those, like, really bad kids that, like, only did, like, photography and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, like, as far as, like, having an ag background, it was something that was very prominent in my life, but, like,
not in, like, the location that you were.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Unless you moved around, like, when I lived in Brenham, there is not much there but cows and plows.
Yeah.
And then you go to Houston, and you're like, you got freaking
people in city.
City folk. You got spaceships and stuff landing, like, literally on the side of the road. Like, it's people doing bomb, like, subjects in the field next to you. Like, that's what it was. Like, middle school. I lived across the street from NASA. I went to Space Center, and we would have lockdown when NASA was doing test subjects in the field across us. They'd blow stuff up. It was great.
That's crazy.
That's where our field trips were. It got boring after a while, so.
You could only see so many
spaceships. I could give the tour on what we were doing. Like, I've been there so many times.
But no, that's crazy that, like, how by you being involved in FFA or 4-H, like, you can, like, literally change your family's dynamic of being involved in agriculture.
Yes. Yeah, so I have a big thing on that because my family, both my parents grew up in California, like, in the city, no agriculture anywhere in there. And big military families, we moved around a lot. And then my siblings were not involved in any type of agriculture or anything, but I had the chance to go through school in Texas. And so when I got to high school, I was like, FFA is kind of what I want to get into a little bit. My parents had no clue what I was doing when I was in FFA. They were like, okay, so you're gone every morning and every afternoon. You come home smelling like crap.
What do you do all day?
Don't really know what to do. And then I finished up high school, and I came here as Poultry Science. And honestly, in my senior year of high school, my parents left the suburbs, moved out to Cut and Shoot, and literally live on acres now. My dad's taken up all sorts of, like, gardening and stuff like that. Just spends his entire day outside now when he's not at work, and has gotten, like, so big in agriculture. And they grew up in the concrete of California.
Yeah.
Sounds just like my family.
Yeah,
Such a peaceful lifestyle, though.
Yeah, like, so I wouldn't really say, like, my family was ever away from it, but I feel like I definitely brought it back, and now my family, we actually raise honeybees on the side, and we harvest honey from them.
That ag exemption?
Yeah, tax exemption right there. Every time I go to TSC to buy feed, I'm like, tax exempt. But, yeah, it's super cool just seeing it, how it's, like, different for each member of my family, and now, like, my siblings are involved, grandparents are back involved with it, and it's all in different ways than, like, what I would have ever thought it would be.
Yeah. And for you guys being so close to such a big city too. Well, and Katie's it's a suburb of Houston.
Katy
but
has such a deep root of being old rice fields. Like we went to Katy High School, and that was founded in 1800s.
Yeah.
So our ag program was founded in 1932. That's when it got its charter. So it was still around for all of the rice fields and that. So even though we are in a very big suburban place and just keeps growing and growing, we still feel that.
And like, if you ask
rural part almost, just from small town Katy, everyone still supports it the same way.
If you were to ask anyone who lives in Katy where they live, they'll say Katy.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask someone who goes to a part of the Katy area schools, they'll say Katy. But people who are from the heart of Katy are like, no, like, you don't see the pastures that are like a mile away from us. Like, me personally, like, I live in the heart of Katy, Texas. I don't live near the, I guess, we're still like suburban in some aspects, but I don't live near all of the development. While it is getting more into the heart of Katy, we still have that rich small town feel, and we can still call ourselves a small town in a way. But
and I feel like too, in those types of situations, which I know all of you are kind of, different, but semi-similar in terms of, like, the building up and development of areas, I feel like people in those situations, even, you can disagree with me, but, like, obviously people in Houston don't have, like, any concept really of where their food comes from. But even in those, like, places where we're all from, like, they still don't have any idea where their food comes from, and it's, like, literally up the road. Yeah. And I think that's the craziest part about it. Like, my hometown is small town, but kind of same thing. Like, outskirts are very rural, but then the town is very built up. And when I would tell people, like, I showed cattle or I lived on a ranch, they were like, what?
So crazy.
Like, where are you from? And I'm like, literally 5 minutes up the road. Like, what? Yeah. And I think that's just, like, a weird dynamic of the society that we live in.
It's very weird for my town because we're known for, I think, what is it, roping horses? Or cutting horses. We're the cutting horse capital.
Yeah.
And you would have never known that driving into our town. Like, I didn't even know that until I was in FFA, and they were like, yeah, we're really big in cutting horses. And you're like, huh? Where do you see, like, a cutting horse ranch? Yeah.
Yeah, like, across the highway, like, my town, like, the area I'm from is, like, different places people are, like, one popular area is Friendswood, which a lot of people know Friendswood, and they're like, oh, that's, like, a rich area, it's, like, a lot of neighborhoods. But Friendswood is, like, there's a lot of land, and people, like, have animals and everything, like, and it's just across the highway from, like, the mall, like, everything is just down the road. Like, you just start driving, and you're gonna just start seeing grass and cows. So, like, it goes like that. I just snap a finger to where things come from.
I feel like that's a Texas thing, too.
Oh, 100%.
So I don't feel like in California it's quite... I mean, obviously California is a huge ag state, but people don't realize that.
Oh, no.
It just depends on what part you're at.
Yeah, for sure.
Or even in the parts. Like, I mean, my family's originally from the Bay Area. You know, you don't see anything green going from home to work, and it's a 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
But here, just to get, 20 minutes away, you're passing ranches and you don't even know it. And I think that's something really cool about Texas.
Yeah, I would agree.
No, go for it. Our town tried to do, like, a good job of, like, making sure our town knew about Katy's rich history in agriculture. So we always had this thing called the Rice Festival, and it's basically all of the rice farmers in Katy would come, and, like, FFA chapters would set up a booth, and people would go and, like, it was like a cutesy little festival where you can get food and your kids could play, but, like, they could also go to the booth and learn about agriculture. And kind of, we would try to teach them about it because Katy's history is so rich in agriculture.
Right.
And it was a good way to get the town involved, but also teach.
Yeah.
So.
Do y'all have like festivals like that?
Yeah, we just had a peach festival because we're
Yeah.
Oh, is that where you got the peach
Peach
salsa?
salsa. It's in my
we,
room.
we were on the news too. Like if you're like I said, if you're driving to Weatherford, you're like, where's the peach tree? No,
Yeah.
there's like right out like on the outskirts. There's like a big like vineyard almost with peaches. There was peach everything from shirts to like salsa. Yeah, it was good. Like I'm not a big peach fan, but the peach festival was pretty fun.
Do that all to me.
But also, I think that's one thing that FFA does a good job of is, like, I know for me, like, I did ag issues in high school, and one of the things we had to do before going to state was we had to do forums. So we had to, like, go out into the community or, like, find people from corporations to do Zooms with to tell them about our topic.
Oh, cool.
So it was, like, it's a good way to meet people, and it's a good way to advocate for, like, your different topics. Because everyone has a different topic. So we tried to keep ours local to Katy, but also, like, it could relate to other areas in Texas and the U.S.
Well, and depending on, like, who those people were, they could be reaching for.
Yeah, so, like, a lot of times we would give it to, like, city council members and, like, tell them, like, this is how we see this issue. And we, like, had to debate the pros and cons of it.
Yeah.
So that was a good way for us also to, like, be like, hey, guys, this is an issue.
Yeah.
And it's crazy even seeing that on the big scale, like, something small, like, oh, if someone's from, like, the city side of Katy, maybe they don't know that it used to be rice fields. But even on the bigger side, like the poultry side, you meet people that eat eggs every day for breakfast, and they don't realize that the eggs that you buy in the store will not be a baby chick. Like, and that's crazy to me, because it's like, it's literally something that you are dealing with every day. Chickens
like
aren't a small-town Texas thing. It's it's nationwide.
Oh, absolutely.
Worldwide.
Reagan and I did our science fair project over poultry, and, like, we would tell people about it all the time, and they'd be like,
We still
mind
bring
blown.
it up. Anytime eggs get brought into conversation.
We're like,
did you know this?
yeah, like, oh my gosh, did you know this? And they are, like, mind blown.
Yeah.
Like, even the judges, like, everyone, like, you, like, take the topic to, like, it's just crazy, like, how sometimes, like, misinformed people are.
Right.
Yes.
Or, like, they're not informed at all.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Big
a
deal in
marketing
society.
tactic, though, on
As
the
well, yeah.
corporations. Let's hide everything behind the big fancy words that no one
Can
wants to
understand.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't
that is.
care about. They're like, don't care. Just worth
Well-
By ranchers for ranchers. Together, let's make ranching easier. Previously known as Cattle Back Box, Strayhorn has rebranded to better match their ability to push the envelope in creating innovative animal management products to serve the ranching community. Strayhorn is rooted in tradition and ranching legacy, but they believe in the opportunity of looking at things with a new perspective to drive the industry forward. Check out all of the things that Strayhorn has to offer you and your herd.
Well, like, even, like, people who are, like, conscious of what they eat, they really don't know, like, all the information. Like, you know, you said a marketing thing. Like, you learn about that in class, how these different companies, like, on packaged foods, they all have to say, like, this, which they all mean the same thing,
Or like,
but said differently in different words multiple times on the package, and people are like, oh, well, it says this, so I'm gonna eat that.
Like
Antibiotic free, everything
eggshells.
like that. Like, of course, there's no antibiotics.
Or it has
like,
a pretty picture of a chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I want that one.
like
It says that
chicken.
these chickens are the happiest, and I want the chickens.
I want the
eat.
happiest.
Want my eggs to be happy.
The one that irritates me the most is the hormone and steroid free.
yeah.
People have no concept that in the 1950s, the FDA outlawed
Yeah.
hormone additional. Okay, first of all, no meat is hormone free because they're living animals, so there's a trace of hormones.
Just like us, we have hormones in our body. They got hormones in
But,
their
like,
body.
The fact that people pay extra for, because my favorite thing to do is stay in the grocery store and be like, watch people, like,
Yes.
try to pick out which thing they're gonna pick up, or people like, I'll grab the cheapest one because to me it's all the same.
Yeah.
And then they like will put it down and kind of like look at you like,
You're buying that?
yes. And like I love having conversations with people in the
Yes.
grocery store.
I just
It's
yell at
so
things.
funny.
I'm like, it's the same thing.
No, literally. Or like the misconception of like the brown eggs
Yes,
to white
brown and
eggs.
white.
And, like,
I had
the
to-
brown eggs are way healthier.
I had to educate.
What?
I had to educate my friends on that. I was like, if you poke me with a needle, you poke you with a needle, we're both gonna bleed red. It's the same with the chicken egg. You crack a brown egg and you crack a white egg. It's gonna be
yolk.
same, yeah, the same color.
Great teaching concept.
Oh, that's good. I'm gonna have to file that one away for a talk later. But talking about agriculture and like after FFA, and obviously you guys are all in college, is there something that made you want to pursue a degree and hopefully a career in agriculture, or was it just a whim?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think a lot of things people don't realize about FFA is, like, it is one big happy family. So, like, being around those people makes you want to submerge yourself in agriculture. So, like, for me personally, like, having a great advisor was a big deal to me. So, I had an amazing advisor, Mr. Jacob Price. He took the time, sat down with me, taught me, helped me through things, and now I'm pursuing the exact same thing. I'm going to become an ag teacher.
Yeah.
Even though I am majoring in poultry science, I'll have that and a certificate to teach, but because of the support I had in FFA, it pushed me to pursue that degree.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm very, very excited about.
I'm the same way. I had a real great ag teacher. She's here today, and I was calling her. I still hang out with her, go to shows, and, everybody's like, what are you gonna do with a poultry degree? I'm like, an ag teacher? You didn't gotta go and do ag leadership to get a certificate to teach. I was like, to be honest, it's better because you have a broader, research and stuff like that about stuff. And I was like, well, I'll ask you something, because she did equine reproduction. And I was like, what about this about an animal or this? And I was like, oh, that's cool.
That was different for me, though. My teacher, I liked, on a personal scale, my teachers, I really did like them. They inspired me to go be an ag teacher that I didn't have.
No, but I think that's just as important, I guess. Impactful.
Give the student, my said future students, what I didn't get.
My ag teachers have the code to get into my house, and they'll come check on our animals and do everything.
Bailey, don't be stealing things.
Yeah.
We're missing a blower.
And it doesn't even have to be necessarily about your ag teachers, but what inspired you to want to pursue a career in agriculture, I think, is maybe more of
It's just the new generations not being as knowledgeable of agriculture, if that makes sense. We go to school with kids who don't know, I'm not gonna say know anything, but they seriously don't know anything. And
I think even in ag, people don't understand.
Especially students in my school who come from low-income families really find their place in our FFA chapter, where they can be themselves and they can be involved and not get away from the house, but get out there and make new experiences and have fun, and just get away. Because my school is very small, low-income, but our ag teachers do a really good job of making sure everyone's involved. And I think we've had record enrollment in FFA. I think everybody who takes an ag class has to be in FFA, but more people are becoming involved every year, and I credit our ag teachers for getting them involved in that.
Yeah. It's really hard to do that in where I come from, where it's really unheard of. Around my school, there's nothing but office buildings, and you have a forest across the street, because I live right across the street from UHCL. It's literally you walk across the street. Yeah. So it's just trees, deer,
NASA.
NASA. The big rocket ship is right there. It's really hard to get people involved like that, because it's not really it's not something that's in our area. So our not chapter involvement, well, that too, but kids in the program is nothing. At our school, the ag classes, if you were a kid who was a bad kid or something like that, you get thrown into an ag class.
Yeah. I
But
feel
sometimes
coping mechanism.
those kids, sometimes those kids are the best kids.
Because all they need is someone to believe in them and show them their potential.
And it's hands on and
you can't get in trouble in an ag class.
You can.
You can, but you learn life lessons. In it.
You can, but it's fun doing the ag mech stuff. This is stuff some people might my family works on cars, or might stuff like that. People can relate to stuff like that.
Yeah, I big time saw that, because I didn't do FFA my whole 4 years. Yeah. I came in late because FFA at our school was a GPA dropper. It wasn't the high thing. I came in, I was okay, I'm planning big things for college, whatever, and I was not going to do it because it looked bad.
Yeah.
And so I was really hesitant to start it, and But I'm a big believer that school's not for everyone. My dad didn't go to college. He's a mechanic.
Yeah.
But I've learned more from him than I have in a school in my entire life.
Yep.
And so you can really see that in ag classes, in FFA, of like the people that just need something to focus on in a school setting where they have to be there all day. But they get that little reprieve in the classes where they do work with their hands. They work with something that they're going to actually be using in 20 years
Right.
rather than geometry.
A life
and I love
skill.
math. Don't get me wrong. Like,
You don't see me with this is an acute angle right here or something. Yeah.
Like,
no.
I am the biggest nerd out there, but I can see the value of working with your hands and, like, how much joy it can bring to people that sitting in a classroom and, like, hearing history facts all day just drains them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool thing about ag and FFA that gives people, like, a new purpose when they feel like school is just absolutely
Not
the last
their thing.
place that they want to be.
Yeah.
Yes, like for me, I had like a relief going to my ag class. Like that's something I look forward to. Is just like, going to do
I need
matrices.
lunch in there.
Lunch,
Yeah.
yeah, like that was like the social place. Like for kids who were in it, kids who like were just in the classes, like going and sitting in your ag teacher's classroom during lunch was just such a safe place.
That and get to hang out with all the animals. My teacher, we
Yeah.
had pets in there. We had
Same.
ferret. We had
We
dogs.
had everything in my
Ferret.
class.
Aren't ferrets illegal?
I don't
I don't know. My
Ferrets-
teacher had
No,
4 of
ferrets
them in
are
ours.
hamsters.
They're legal
Yeah.
here. I mean, they are legal here.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're illegal in
She
California.
had a.
They-
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are.
She had a
Everything's
ferret
legal in
named
California.
That's-
Mine
We
is
had
like
4.
hard drugs.
We had rabbits and we would breed them, and then we had ferrets, we had chinchillas, we had every kind of lizard you can think of, snakes, we had everything.
Yeah, that's where I draw the
Don't
line.
go for
She
it.
wanted
Yeah,
to bring
no.
in a sphinx, and I said not today.
Yeah, we had snakes in there. They were super cool. They're like a.
So we got some future ag teachers.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Everyone wants to be an
Oh,
ag teacher?
I
know.
No, I
No.
know.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
so hitting
Want
it from
it
the nerdy side again. I knew growing up that I wanted to like work with animals. I wanted to be a vet. I was your typical. I want to work with dogs and cats the rest of my life. Growing
One
up.
of those.
Which is like so fair. Like people that like we need them honestly. Like
Oh, we have to have them.
We need them. There's too many dogs in this world, you know. But and so I understand that, and that's what I wanted growing up. And then as I got older and older, I realized that hey, maybe I don't want to just be looking at ear infections in dogs for the remainder of my
Me
life.
with my bloodhounds
No,
constantly.
literally, yes.
Oh, we
Allergies.
signed up
I
for
work at a
that.
vet clinic, and allergies is probably 95% of the things that we see on a daily basis. But so getting into high school and honestly getting into FFA, I learned like the agricultural side of it, not just your domestic household pets. And I like found a passion for food animals and like seeing where our food comes from and knowing it. But all those animals need the same treatment that your dogs and cats do. And so I found a love for food animals. And coming into A&M, I found poultry as that little outlet. And now it's really funny because when I told my parents that I was going to go, so I'm a poultry science, animal science double major. And animal science fills in the gaps that poultry science
Right.
has. But I told them that I wanted to be a poultry vet. And to them, they hear, okay, I go to a vet on Saturdays with my dogs. And they look at my one dog and they, check it out. So when they hear poultry vet, they think, oh, someone's bringing in their pet chicken, and they're gonna get a once over, and I'm gonna send them home with some heartworm medication and something like that.
Or pills.
Flea and tick.
I've done that before.
And so that's what they hear, and that's what my extended family back in California hears, and they don't understand that like I want to be working in the barns, I want to be working in the industry. Like I'm not gonna have one patient on a Saturday. I'm gonna be having millions of birds in one house.
Right.
And like that's what I want to do on that side of agriculture because animals feed the world.
Right.
And they need just as much oversight as, your domestic animals do.
Probably more.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think that part feeds into the animal welfare piece that a lot of people discredit agriculture for when clearly, right?
Yeah.
That is the area you want to dedicate your life to. And so I think that's a good testament to obviously you, but then the world of agriculture that you go through a lot of schooling and a lot of time and you spend a lot of money to get that education so that you can treat those animals and take care of them in the right way and know that those animals are going into our food system in a healthy manner.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is I'll have my 4 years of undergrad
And then
praying to God. And then
vet, and then
another
additional.
4 years of vet school. So I will graduate vet school with my DVM like every other dog and cat vet.
Right.
And so I will finish those 4 years with the same license that your Saturday vaccinations vet get. But then in order to get into poultry, and to get into such a niche specialty that takes a whole different set of knowledge, because I'm not just looking at dogs and cats all day, I will be in another 2-year program just before I even get in a house working with birds.
Yeah. So
And
much time.
so, like, you know, your doctors, your vets, and everything that are taking this time and spending this god awful amount of money
Right.
to do everything with livestock, we're going even farther beyond that. Just to look at a bunch of chickens.
That proves how much
bunch of
care
chickens.
and like heart we have for the animals that we're gonna eat. They're going into our body.
Right.
Not even just for the chickens, but like for the world, like it takes one to care like about what people are consuming. Like that's a lot of food right there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do, Becky?
It took me a while to fully commit to wanting to be in agriculture when I grew up.
Yeah.
I was kind of like Casey. I did not do ag all 4 years of high school. I started my sophomore year, and that feeling of missing out on a year really pushed me to learn everything I can about everything in ag. Well, when I had people like Kaylee, my same age, doing all this other stuff, feeling so far ahead of me, like I wanted to play catch up, so did all that, and I finally, I guess my senior year of high school, committed to poultry. I always knew I wanted to help, whether it be as like a doctor or a vet or whatnot, and it took me until senior year to realize that I did not want to be a vet.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm on the track to go into nutrition. I'm not fully in love with the idea. I still like the diseases aspect and like pharmacology stuff.
Mhm.
So we'll see. But I do plan on getting a PhD in something while I'm here.
Heck yeah, girl.
So I don't know where I'll end up. If I get
Chicken
bored,
doctor.
if I get bored in undergrad, I'll just be an ag teacher too. Because
Wow.
Well,
we could always use more eggs.
No, we do need ag. I mean,
Backup plan.
that is. We need so much.
Yeah.
Good ag teachers. Good
Yeah,
ag
it's a good
teachers.
backup.
Yeah, that's
Could not be
What
me.
What did you want to do if
my
you're
whole
not being
life.
an
I
ag teacher
wanted
anymore?
to be a vet, and then I got accepted in him, and I was like, never mind. I grew up. My dad works in the agriculture industry. He works for Cisco Corporation, which is a really large food company,
Right.
and he's a quality assurance manager. Well, he flies literally all over the world, like to France, Switzerland, like everywhere. And growing up, I went on maybe like 2 trips with him to go to like some really like well-known places like Cargill, Catelli, which is in like New York and stuff like that. And I would go to the plants with him, like put on the cap and the hard hat and the little stuff. And like at that age, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was like, that was not an interest to me. And then I got into school and I didn't want to be an ag teacher anymore. I didn't want to be a vet anymore. I wasn't a poultry science major to even start. I was, I did not. I'm sorry. I actually was gonna do poultry science on my like application just so I could get into A&M and switch. I didn't though.
That is a for your freshman admissions. That is not a. That's not a true
I
statement
had a non-traditional way, anyways. But coming back to it now, and working a farm job and every other job you can think of, I wanted to be a quality assurance manager, which is what my dad does.
Yeah.
And I want to do exactly what he does because he gets to travel, paid for, around the world, makes good money, and then like Casey, you're like, you get to see like help all the food stuff and making sure what people are eating is like safe
quality.
Yeah, I want to have the authority to like
Improve our food system.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to do like more of like the business and sales side of the industry. We had someone come to one of our classes from Merck Animal Health and talk about selling vaccine programs, and all the technology is super cool. And I feel like I could have a better impact through like sales and business and communicating with people, and still having this poultry knowledge and background to be able to answer more of their questions and put them on the right track with their flocks and stuff like that, but not so much the veterinary side and medicine side, I guess you could say. So.
Cool. You want to be an ag teacher, right, Amaya?
Yep.
Yeah.
Be
Cool. We
different
got
from my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think obviously all of these careers are things we need to make the world go round, clearly, especially in agriculture. But I think it's also a good representation that just because you have a degree in agriculture, more specifically poultry science, does not mean you have to be a farmer.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, most people who, and you don't even have to have a degree in agriculture to be involved in agriculture,
No.
but people who go to school for ag, I think there's a lot of misconceptions around like, oh, they're going to be a farmer or a rancher or whatever. And like, I'd say 90%, 99%, 98 feels like a good sweet spot. 98%.
Don't quote you on that.
Yes, don't make that a Facebook post.
But Ag Chicks said.
Yeah, quoted agchicks.
Put that in your essay.
Are not farmers or ranchers. Now, I will say, I think vast majority of people in ag, like, maybe have some form of that on the side, or, like, as a hobby, that if you're like my father and my family, the hobby turns into more than a hobby, and it's also becomes a part of your lifestyle. While you have another job or are involved in some other aspect.
Or they grow up in it and they go to school to get better knowledge to then go back and like fix their ranges to their farm.
Yeah.
Which I think is also a really cool testament to how ag has evolved over time. Like, I think there's a stereotype that, you know, farmers and ranchers and people in agriculture are dumb and uneducated and not with technology, when agriculture is probably one of the most technology forward industries. Like,
Oh my gosh, the Rotom in the new barn. I swear it took me longer to figure out how to use it than it did setting up a brand new iPhone.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah, we could figure out
And
how
way
to
more on the line.
Way
more on the line.
poultry, we went to a poultry processing facility, and I had never been inside one, and just the sheer like amount of technology, there was like maybe 20 people working the line of I don't even know how many pounds of chicken moving through there in an hour. I was amazed at how just automated the whole process is, and so that's just
And it
insane
only
to me.
advances as time goes on. Like, we're not going to need any people at one point someday.
Yeah.
Like, they're growing chickens in growing meat in labs now to be
Which I don't feel too confident about.
I don't know. Yeah, that's something I would
think
not
that's
put in my
gonna
body.
downhill.
Anyways, so we've got an early morning, ladies, to, you know, impact the youth of tomorrow in agriculture.
Woo, excited.
But if anybody is wanting to connect with you guys off the podcast, obviously, because we can't talk to the listeners.
No way.
If only it was a live audience. What is the best way for them to connect with you, either via social media or email, I guess, if you're comfortable with putting that info out there on the World Wide Web?
LinkedIn. That's going to be your best friend in college.
Oh, I don't have LinkedIn.
Oh, you're going to. You will.
Have you not
Right.
taken 381?
I will be taking it this semester.
Okay, there you go.
She will.
I would say
I got the
Instagram
LinkedIn.
all day, every day.
Yeah,
Instagram.
Like start there, and then
DM me.
once the conversation gets going somewhere, then start sharing more.
We'll give
Okay,
you our percent.
I'll put everybody's
Heck no.
handle in the show notes if anybody wants to reach out to the lovely ladies
Feel free.
of the FFA Chicks Gang
Like, subscribe,
2023.
comment down below.
Okay, thanks, ladies. Appreciate ya.
Ag Chicks for real.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Ag Chicks. Don't forget to follow along on social media at Ag Chicks for more agricultural related content, and also be sure to check out your favorite podcast here from www.agchicks.net. We'll see you next time.